So first of all, before I answer that question, I'm first going to talk about what non-duality is. So what awakening is for me, to what, and then I will talk about what it's like. So what's amazing about non-duality is there can be a feeling of getting non-duality and then a feeling of forgetting non-duality. Because the biggest mistake, which is so hard to see and is seen by no one, is that non-duality is a thought or an idea. So you can understand non-duality and speak the words in a more fluent and efficient way than I or other teachers, but yet there might not be the true knowing, which is not verbal. This is why so many different teachers can speak about it in a different way, because it's not a teaching, it's not words, it's not something that you learn. What I really feel that satsang is, for me, I say for me because I'm trying to not make it like this is the way it is. I'm trying to, get a bit away from this dogmatic way of teaching, that this is the correct way, I'm the teacher, I know all. So I try to say for me to encourage others to find their own interpretation of this. But for me, what satsang is, which the meaning is meeting is in truth, is actually being in stillness together, which isn't a mental concept. It's a movement back to the stillness of what we are in every moment. This immense presence that's here, that's always been. We could call it consciousness or beingness. But as long as that's also recognized as not a thing and all things simultaneously, that they're not a thing. So satsang isn't actually verbal. It's almost like the verbal is like a slide. It's like the one that's speaking attempts their best to describe what non-duality is. And from doing that, it's like contagious. Someone expressing what non-duality is, it slides the others into non-duality, or it is an invitation to non-duality. Because actually, sometimes what it can do is really evoke the ego or the separation as well. It can become very present. And this is why I think that most people are listening to non-duality repetitively, not really because of the words, because that can be learned quite quickly. It's to do with the satsang, the meeting in silence. It's like a meditation. And words have relevance, they do certain things. It's not that we can be talking about Mickey Mouse, although it's more that there is a focus, you know, by the words, there is like a commitment to non-duality, to that which is beyond. It's like those words are committing to this. And yeah, it could be done through talking about Mickey Mouse or double Dutch, but then it's like everyone would have to be committed. Everyone would have to be free in that, if you see what I mean, because you're committing without actually speaking about it. Whereas the spoken words is like the commitment, and then the energy in which the words are spoken from is like the slide into that abyss, the unknown. Well, it's not about me or a teacher presenting it in different ways or giving you ideas to understand yourself better, although that's so super helpful and I'm not against that. I'm sure I've done that, given ideas in which to work with your separation or, yeah. Ways to look at certain things, but it's really not that. It's the commitment, which is the expression of non-duality, one person expressing it, and then it's like a song calling. And with something about it, you know, that using these more extreme words of non-duality for me when I express, that evokes the nothing more. And what happens when I express currently is the more that I go into people's story, it's like there's less of a resonance there. So you might have noticed over the last few years, I've begun to go back more to just pointing. And it's because I'm just following that resonance. You know, there was a period in which I had to be speaking more about the story. And now that's fading again. And the nothingness is like, nope, this is what's got to be spoken. Or the stillness, nope, this is what's got to be spoken. So, what's really amazing being a speaker and communicating this for now nearly 13 freaking years, my goodness, it'll soon be 23 years, eh? So what is it's happening after 13 years is I can see how people seemingly go in and out of that nothingness, but they're not really recognizing what's happening. So the way my teacher explained it to me is that when there's less identification happening, there is more of a sense of expansion and freedom. You're not bound by anything. There is a sense of expansion which comes with an emptiness, of freedom. There's not a bumping up against life. And when you're really identified, then there is a contraction and everything feels like it's bumping up against you. And when I'm speaking about non-duality, I notice now from this side, people, it's like they open and then they close, but they don't really realize that's happening. And they think when they're opening, they're doing something right. And when they're closing, they're doing something wrong, or the world is doing something wrong. And they're not really registering it correctly. They think it's because of something in time. Like, I feel more happy now because I've been meditating, or I feel more happy now because I've done this, and I feel more unhappy now because of this and because of that. Whereas actually the truth is you feel more happy because there's less identification, you feel less happy because there's more identification. And there does seem to be things that can be done to affect that, but it's not somebody's doing. It's not somebody that can manufacture it. So you can listen to a talk and there can be a resonance to it, and there's more than likely there will be an expansion than, say, if you're watching a horror film, but one never knows. There's always exceptions. This world is a world of infinite possibilities, so there's always exceptions to the rule. Nothing ever fits. Yeah. So what it feels like to awaken is expansion. And I know that gives the mind food for thought, but it's the end of feeling like you are a character that is experiencing, and a movement to this emptiness, or this consciousness, which is all places and no places, or the beingness, which is no places and all places. It's not the end of the character. There is definitely a need for a character in order to experience life. So it's not the character that goes, it's the end of that character being the experiencer and a movement back to who you truly are, which is no thing and everything. This emptiness which is experiencing itself. And it is love as well. So what it feels like to spiritually awaken, even though this is a story, this isn't truth. It's only truth when it happens. It's like a story that you're imagining now, like a me as opposed to what I'll be when I awaken, is expansion and love, intimacy. The end of feeling contracted inside the body, that your body is your edge and that is who you are, that is the experiencer. And then there is a knowing of who you are, which is nothing, no thing, emptiness appearing as all forms. And the closest to it in this life is the beingness and the consciousness, the empty looking and the sense of I am. So it's being deeply rooted in the consciousness and the I am. And the consciousness is empty and the I am is love and all things. So it's no longer somebody that's moving the body. It's consciousness speaking, I am speaking, but not I am somebody. You could call it beingness speaking and moving. And that is directly felt in every moment. But not as a thought, not as an idea, not as something you can recall, even though I'm recalling it to you now, it is an expression. It is an expression. And this to me is what I call freedom. But please note, other teachers might not necessarily call that awakening, spiritual awakening. They might have a different definition of it. So this is just my definition. It's not the fixed definition. Ramesh Balsakar used to say, enlightenment isn't a certifiable event. Yeah. You know, 3 people could think that they're all describing the taste of watermelon, but maybe one's describing the taste of a strawberry, one a watermelon, and one red meat. And they're all like, yeah, yeah, this watermelon, but you know, it's not. It's yeah, personal journey, which isn't personal. It's almost as though like a loss of control. Like in every action, it's God's action, it's life actions. It's not person, it's not narcissistic or arrogant, like, this is God speaking, I am God. It's like a humility, an absolute humility. The life is being acted. And that my Lisa character isn't perfect. So that's another part. And I end up making me sound really bad on YouTube because I go too far, you know. I want to articulate and express it isn't about being a perfect character. I want no deception here about me being godly, the Lisa character. Ultimately, everything is God, so it's godly. But Lisa makes mistakes. Lisa can be inappropriate, she can be angry, she can be grumpy, she can be hormonal, she can be everything. She can be happy, she can be joyful, she can be light. There was a profound change in my character, and life became a lot easier and a lot more in flow. And the thinking became reduced for me, my character, and there was like a connection to happiness, like even in all moments, even when I'm really sad or grieving or something, there's a feeling of happiness in the human level, or a feeling of relaxation or even maybe bliss. But I still can have all array of emotions, really all, I think, except hatred. And that's a big word. So the hatred is defined by the belief in doership, the belief that the other or I do, and then the belief that life or objects or things will bring me freedom. And that to me is hatred. When that is believed in, then the intensity of the seeking and the person, you know, will go to any lengths to get what it wants. And hatred doesn't mean anger, like, you know, over 12 years now of being on YouTube and working, being seen as a powerful woman by men, which is difficult in our society, you know, experiencing different relationships. You know, it's not the end of anger. There's been anger with people, like humans, including myself. I'm a human, can be so difficult and crazy sometimes. and frustration. But then humans also can be awe-inspiring and brilliant and enlightening as well. Yeah, I get lost in the trees here. Like I face my computer now to the window when I'm doing the live stream because it's summertime, so it's light. And it's more of a natural light than a spotlight. I get lost in the trees, the movement of the trees, in the birds going in and out, in the blue sky and the moving clouds. So what it's like to spiritually awaken, to me, is freedom. On the human level, though, it's continuous expansion into that oneness. Like, so my human character and the expression of that oneness through the human character continuously expands, because nothing in the flow of things is fixed. Everything in the flow of things is always changing. But from the perspective of who you truly are, that doesn't change. So when that's awoken, when there's a remembering of that, like a real remembering of that, or an energetic shift, that doesn't change, because that is changeless. Who you are is changeless. But what does change is the expression of that through the human. Like I would say, over the last 13 years, there's been old hidden traumas coming up in Lisa, old seeking patterns, things that weren't understood, like all of that just kept expanding, that the characters just kept wanting to align more and more with truth. Not through an idea, like I, on the human level, would have no idea really how to do that, but it's just there's a natural movement to investigate, and then life brings in things that rub against the character, making the character explore and investigate that. So on the human level, it's like maybe when the awakenings happen, then the human level is absolutely committed to expanding more to oneness. It's got no choice. It just will naturally do that. Yeah. So right now, it feels like everything is vibrating with nothingness. It's like speaking about this feels like the nothingness just becomes so strong. Like vivid. And that's what I feel like as a teacher, that's what my quality is. Like, all different teachers have different qualities. And I really recommend, seeing, listening to different teachers to give you a broad range of this subject. But I think after 13 years nearly of teaching, I can confidently say that that is my quality. Is that boom, the boom of silence. Yeah, that's what I should call the talk, the boom of silence. No, that's a bit stupid. Yeah. Okay, so we go to questions. If you want to raise your hand.